Hello and welcome back to another video. This time we're going to look at a race preview for Challenge Miami, which is coming up on Friday. First major race of the year. It's got a really good start list, both the male and female event. And interestingly, it is also on a speedway course, so similar to the headline event of 2020 at Challenge Daytona. Getting stuck into straight away the distances, demands of the race. We've got a 1600 meter swim. So slightly shorter than Daytona, which is probably going to favour those athletes that were moving through the field in Daytona and finishing strong. And as we know with hindsight from the results of that race, it was those athletes that were biding their time, moving through the field the whole way through the race that took those major positions. Bike course is slightly shorter, it's 60 kilometres, and interesting this time too, it's not just simply around the speedway track. So they're actually coming into the middle. There's a bit of a technical section. It does look quite windy and warm looking at the weather too. So likely to be the athletes that are really accustomed to their TT positions, comfortable with spending 2.5 hours locked in to a hopefully fairly comfy but aerodynamic position. But also the changing wind direction every lap, being able to adjust their position and power accordingly. And then we're finishing off with a 10-mile run. This time it is just around the oval loop, so not really much to look at there. Okay, let's get stuck into the start list now. Starting off on the female race, we did a review of the female race at Daytona, and there's two names that obviously stick out from the results of that race. Firstly, Paula Findlay. As we've already mentioned, she had one of those magical days at Daytona, very reminiscent of her dominance in short course triathlon in 2010. So really good to see her back to that standard, and assuming she's had a decent training block, getting back into things after Daytona, she'll obviously be carrying massive confidence going into this, and knowing that the profile is so similar, she's going to be hard to look past. But given that Anne Haug had a penalty and obviously ran everyone down bar Paula Findlay with a very impressive run but all-round performance too, I'm sure she'll be looking for remittance. Next up, some athletes that are likely to be right up there in contention judging by the results of Daytona. First of all, US-based athlete Elisa Dayler. She's a previous professional runner. She had the fourth quickest run split at Daytona and finished up in 11th. It was only the top three that had quicker run splits than her, very narrowly, with Laura Philipp just being that run split in third actually. I think given the fact that this course is shorter, also having a quick look through her Instagram, the bike was relatively the weakest at Daytona, and she spent some time in the tunnel, so probably putting that into good practice with going into this Miami race. Obviously very similar course profile, so I'm expecting to see her right up there. If she can get off the bike in a better position, she's likely to run through the field and do really well, I think. Fenella Langridge, UK-based athlete who did very well at Daytona too. She ended up finishing in 7th. Pretty much did the bike with Holly Lawrence and ran off it super strong as well. So given the fact that this field is obviously not the same depth as Daytona, it's obviously still a strong field, I think Fenella will be right up there too, and obviously carrying a lot of confidence from Daytona. One place above her at Daytona was Sky Maunch, so she's strong across the board as well. So again, given that depleted nature of the field, I'm expecting to see her right up there. Finally, worth noting, who hasn't raced for a while, is Lucy Charles-Barkley, obviously with a different bike sponsor this year too, which has been well documented on social media. Also spending some time recently at the Silverstone Wind Tunnel to get that position dialed in. Obviously, drag is key component in courses like this, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see that put into practice, see how she's getting on with that new bike, new position, and also test that against athletes that are obviously in great form, judging by Daytona with Anne Haug and Paula Findlay. Next up, onto the men's field, and again we've got some athletes that placed very well at Daytona racing at Miami. First of all, Matt Hansen, who finished up in 2nd at Daytona, only really came on the TV in the last 5 kilometres, so seemed to bide his time really well through the race and came through with that infamous run technique, which is obviously very efficient since he ran rapid. The fact that it's shorter probably doesn't bode well for him, but hopefully with slightly different prep into this, again, he'll be coming through in the final stages. Rudy von Berg, who was one of the few athletes that could withstand the intensity of that front pack, given the caliber and depth of athletes that were in it, but also run off fairly well too. So that caliber isn't going to be quite the same at the front of the race this time, and probably slightly more individually paced that I'm anticipating, which may bode well for him for the run off. So if he has got slightly more in the tank on that run, he could be in a position to get a slightly higher position here. Lionel Sanders, again, somebody who came through the field. I think he's going to be bang up for this. I did see a video and was told about a video actually where he was doing some quite funky training intensity distributions going into this, so I'm quite interested to see how that stacks up. But he's someone who trains a serious amount, and if he gets that right, he's always going to be there in contention. But he is going to be racing against the likes of Jan FRODENO. Obviously the last race he did was winning Kona, I think, in 2019 to my knowledge, so that's a pretty good race to be coming off the back of. But I'm assuming, considering he's racing this, he's in pretty good form, and always looking at him swim, bike and run, it's quite a spectacle. Mechanically looks great, so efficient, so it's going to be interesting to see him work in an environment that's so different to Kona. But I'm sure he's going to be in great form for this. But I am hoping the likes of Von Berg, Sanders and Hansen give him a good run for his money. But it's going to be a great spectacle, so really looking forward to it. If we've got some good footage after and there's some good strategy displayed during the race, and either the male or the female field, then hopefully we'll get up some video after dissecting that as well. If you've got any ideas on who else might do well or any thoughts on the race, then stick them in the comments.